start the March 4th meeting of the Portola Valley Planning Commission. Ms. Secretary, would you like to take roll?
Commissioner Morse,
Here.
Commissioner Vatra,
Here.
Commissioner Targ, Commissioner Krasinski.
Here.
Sorry, Vice Chair Krasinski, and Chair Brothers.
Present.
Let the record show we have a quorum.
Excellent. I'll report when and if Nicholas arrives. As far as I know, he's coming. The first item on our agenda, as usual, is oral communications on any topic that's not on our agenda tonight. I don't see on my computer where I'm supposed to find those people.
I think we have one person with their hand raised.
Okay. Okay, I see Rita Gomez. I don't see any other hands raised. So Rita, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
Oh, thank you very much, as I'm being extremely frustrated with our beautiful infrastructure in this town. For weeks, people have had problems with their phones, with the internet being vandalized, things just not working, and with no real plan of how to make it work, how to pull it all together to make it work moving forward. Here we are talking about a new building, new people coming into our beautiful town. And, we're looking pretty bad here for the current residents. So I can only imagine for new residents how much it's going to cost them to tap into infrastructure that is just not here. And, hopefully this planning commission can put together something to move that forward for the current residents. And another question that I have is, there have been talks about fences and this inspection not going right and that inspection not going right. Is the town charging people that don't have permits and aren't doing the right thing? Or are we just trying to build community and help people make better decisions? How is that working with the town needing money? Are we just letting fines not happen, or are we moving forward with different fines to help our bottom line overall in our town? But please, please, I am pleading anything that this group can do for our infrastructure, I will gladly help. But please keep that in mind as you're making decisions moving forward or setting your priorities. Thank you.
Thank you. Comment or practice. I have nothing to comment. Fund director wants to thank Junior and her support. We will allow that. I'm going to move on to the agenda, but before I do that, I want to point out to the commissioners and anyone online who has looked at the agenda that I've been working with Sarah, or Sarah's been working, and I've been listening on setting forth an agenda that will be uniform for us, that captures all of our various roles, and I think we've come up with a really good selection. So when we have a public hearing, that will go first. That will almost always have the priority, followed by a regular action agenda. And then, like today, the informational items, and then we'll get to the commissioners and staff reports. So minutes and adjournment. I like this really a lot. And I guess if you have comments, you can talk to me or Sarah on the side. So having no public hearing today, our first regular agenda item is to appoint a subcommittee of the Planning Commission as set forth in the resolution we passed regarding the priory. We passed that resolution last year, and we had a lot of discussion at the time because there were some particular residents who were particularly concerned. And the outcome we reached was to agree to impose the same restrictions on the priory as had been imposed on the Neely Winery at that point, and for this subcommittee to appoint, this commission to appoint a subcommittee to keep their eye on that. So I'll open the floor for nominations or volunteers? Let the record show Nicholas has arrived.
Nicholas would be happy to volunteer.
Anyone else? I'm looking at Doug. You want to do it? You want to do it on your own?
I'm always happy for company.
Say that again.
I would be delighted to do it on my own. I would also be delighted to participate, one of the other commissioners.
I think it'd be nice to have two people on this little subcommittee.
I'm happy to join.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know if we need to vote to make it official.
I would call a vote.
Okay. Let's vote on it.
Do we
Do we need a
motion?
roll call or do we need a?
Could I move?
You
I
can
move
make a motion.
to
Make a
make a
motion.
subcommittee of Nicholas Targ and Doug Morse for the priority item that requires a subcommittee.
That would be
second that.
item 8.6.
8.6.
Okay, seconded.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Okay, agenda item number, I don't think we need public comment on that topic. Agenda item number 5 are informational items. Tonight we have 2. I remind you, they are informational, but we will open it to, we'll have a presentation. Then I'll open it to the commissioners to comment, ask questions, whatever. Then I'll open that topic to the public. And then I'll do the same thing for letter B. So the first information item is the 2025 Draft Housing Element Annual Progress Report. Introduce yourself too.
Brandon DeLucas, Contract Senior Planner with the presentation this evening. We're having some technical difficulties, so we're just trying to get that all set up. It looks like we're good now. Perfect. All right, so before you this evening is an informational item regarding the Housing Element Annual Progress Report, APR. So the Annual Progress Report just provides a report on our housing element progress. It is due April 1st every year. This is required by state law and must be submitted to state agencies. And then this meeting and also the council, when we present this to the council, is for opportunity for public to comment on the APR. So we do fill out a required form that the HCD has prepared for us. This is the 3rd reporting year of the 6th cycle. The report is on the progress that we made in 2025. It will also report on our meeting our RENA numbers and the implementation programs that are identified in our housing element. The tables, which were attached to the reports, provide information on housing applications that were deemed complete. So that would all be planning, but also building applications. Status of projects approval through certificate of occupancy. So that's when we're finalizing the building permit and they're actually able to move in. We discuss overall indicators on how we are looking on meeting our RENA allocation. We also have discussion on our implementation programs and how we are doing on that. So some of the key observations that we've seen for Table A, which is focused on applications deemed complete, we've had 13 housing units in 2025. We saw in 2024, 15 and 12 in 2023. So we are moving along kind of consistently. For Table 2, the complete deemed complete applications are broken down a little further. We have applications for planning entitlements, which include 2 housing units. So this was new houses, but it doesn't include like replacement. So if they tore down a house and rebuilt a house, it doesn't count towards our RENA because it's still 1 unit. So that's why we only have 2. We do have 2 in 2024 and 1 in 2023. These were what was reported in our previous reports. However, we have found some minor errors For example, in 2024, we had Portola Terrace approved. And that's not reflected in here. They were planning entitlement for 39 units, as you're aware. So we are in the process of reviewing our previous years and we'll be submitting some corrections to make sure that we document it all correctly. We definitely want to count those 39 units. For overall housing unit approvals, measured by building permits, we had 11 building permits for new units, most of them ADUs this year. We had 16 in 2024 and 17 in 2023. And then certificate of occupancies, so projects that finished construction, we had 22 in 2025. 11 of those were for Willow Commons. They received their certificates of occupancies. In 2024, we saw 13 and we had 9 in 2023. So we are seeing an upward progression and we're hoping that does continue. Some key programs that we did implement or start and are now in progress during 2025 is we got our housing element recertified by HCD. We implemented program 7.2, which is creating the ADU amnesty program that was completed in 2025. And that information is available on our website with the criteria and the instructions on how to go through the amnesty program. We also completed program 7-4 is we established staff and consultant office hours. Last year, towards the end of the year, we did establish planning division office hours where we have a planner in office 2 days a week during the hours City Hall is open. We also updated our virtual appointment process, so it's easier for you to book, and that is available 4 days a week. So we are trying to make staff more available to help applications, answer questions for either housing or any questions that anybody may have. Programs that are currently in progress are, for example, 7.8, which is updating our ADU ordinance, which, you know, the commission did hear an informational item at their last meeting. We are looking forward to moving that forward in April and May, just with the noticing timelines. And then also program 8-3, which is comply with state law AB 2339. That's to allow the emergency shelters by right, which were part of that informational item as well, and are also tentatively scheduled for April and May. So this was just a really quick overview. Again, this will be presented to the council as well for their formal approval of the report and forwarding it to HCD. But staff is available for questions and then also public comment on this item. Correct. So that's based on the
Curious about
unit.
that. Okay,
Yeah, so it's 11 total units that count.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Commissioners, do you have comments or questions? Why don't we start with Lonnie?
In the table that has all the units that were added, broken out, I guess I was curious about one thing. There's a column for tenure being R for renter, O for owner. And I believe like pretty much all of the ADUs are marked as renter. But does that mean that they're actually rented?
Not necessarily. So we, for the APR, we have to make the assumption if there's a primary residence homeowners there, and then anything else is deemed a renter. So most of it is I know of a couple ADUs that they're using it as their guest house, basically, when they have family visiting, things like that. But for the purposes of the APR, it is considered renter.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then on the Willow Commons, I guess it's 11 units. I remember there being a question about some of those units where there's like a shared kitchen in the middle of two living facilities. How did those end up getting counted? Are they counted as
So
one?
those are kind of fall into what's called like single room occupancy, where you're renting a room and then you have the common space. We look at as the unit itself. So that would be the kitchen plus the bedrooms. That's one unit for the purposes of the APR. So for Willow Commons, most of the buildings had 3 units, but they have, 3 or 4 rooms that they're renting out separately. So that's how that counts.
So is the number what was in our housing element, or did it come in a bit lower?
I believe they were approved for 3 additional units, but they modified it and did reduce it. So I think it is slightly reduced from what was originally approved at Planning Commission and City Council. Yes.
Okay. And then another question on the sort of programs. What's the status of the opt-in program? That was one that we were supposed to have made some progress, I think, in 2025, but I don't think we have so far.
And that was the opt-in ADU.
No, sorry, no, it's the what do we call it? The opt-in housing diversification program where, a single
Got it.
property can build multiple units on it.
So that is still in our thing listed as underway. I believe we start the process. The problem is with the transitions of the director, it just, there wasn't enough staff time to focus on that. And that's same for a lot of our programs. We are a little bit behind, but now that we do have Sarah here, we are starting to push and try to move forward with that. So it is underway. I would have to double check with kind of Sarah and Darcy on the exact status and kind of when we're planning on bringing that back up and finishing through that process.
Okay,
On that one. Okay.
that's all my questions.
I appreciate how much work you guys are doing. For example, the agenda item that we just took care of was something that Sarah found as she's trying to bring us up to date on the last 2 years when we haven't had a planning manager. So per Ronnie's comment, I think it's important to keep going on that. Thank you.
Sure. How are we doing on the basis of what our commitments are?
Let me pull that table up. Give me one moment. And this is why we also need, kind of following up on my earlier comment where we're doing some corrections, is because we think the numbers are slightly off and we're missing counts. Because we want to get as many as we can. Right now, based off of ours and the past ones, with some slightly incorrect information, we have completed 48 units with 205 remaining to be completed by 2031. But
So
you
we
can add-
believe that there are an additional 39 units that should be added to that?
Yes, and since they're moving forward with building permits, hopefully they'll be issued this year. They would count as part of the 2026 report that we'll bring up next year. So that would be the additional units. So that would be adding quite a bit.
So we'd be a total of 87 out of our 253,
Correct.
and we're about halfway through.
Pretty close. So we're chugging along and we're hoping that this kind of continues and we'll probably need 1 or 2 more projects in to meet it. But, the ADUs are definitely helping us chug forward and reaching our RHNA goal.
So we had a sunrise provision for the Dorothy Ford Park. And we've elected to find a different location, which I understand will both come back to us and then go to council. That will take place presumably sometime this year.
That is correct. I think that is the current plan.
Yes, so we had come through Planning Commission as well as Town Council to present the draft housing element amendment that switches Dorothy Ford Park to 3 other sites. So Town Council approved that early or in January, and we sent it to HCD end of January. So we hope to hear from HCD by the end of this month or next month. Typically, it's around 60 days when we should hear back. And our hope is we don't have a lot of comments, and then we go through the final kind of approval processes for that.
So then we'd go through, for a general plan amendment, presumably.
It would be probably general plan and zoning to
Zoning.
zone those sites to be consistent with the housing element.
Got it. And development of the sites would be, of course, located on the timeframe of the property owner.
That's correct.
Thank you.
So it's likely that we could be facing that by this year sometime, that general plan changes and the zoning changes to accommodate that.
Yes, yes, we should be addressing the housing element amendment and the associated implementation items for that, and as well as continuing our other work for implementing the housing element that was previously approved.
Okay, thank you. Karen, do you have comments or questions?
Yes, I have both. I will start with my comments. Some of you may be aware that before I was a planning commissioner, I tracked RENA statewide and how other jurisdictions were doing, so we could have a fairer comparison. You know, 'cause it's kind of like, oh, we haven't done all this, but what have other jurisdictions done? And I did that again as of 3/1. And statewide, and LA and Southern California are a year ahead of us. If you just, I'll make this as simple as possible. If you total the numbers, the percentage that they have met so far statewide is 14%. EV, we've met 19%. So we're ahead of other jurisdictions statewide. ABAG is only at 8.6%. And San Mateo is only at 7.6. So if you think of it more of a bigger picture, it's not so much local laws and rules, or at least this is my comment. It's more of, you know, it's economic factors and other things beyond the control of our little town. So I thought that would be useful to share in this formal meeting. And then I had some kind of nitty things on some of the programs. In some of the cases, you put a number when things had been satisfied. So for example, on program 1.5 for HIP housing, we had a goal of 10 people we were going to help. Have we helped any people through HIP housing at all?
I would have to confirm with Steve and Darcy on that. Steve helped prepare the programs. So if we did not have in general, if we did not have a number there, we did not have a.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
Program 2.1, can you clarify what you expect to see in the municipal code changes for inclusionary housing requirements? I just would like to preview of what that would be and when we'd see something. Page 31, program 2.1.
So in general, the inclusionary housing would be requirement for a number of affordable units. So I believe this is work that we have been talking with the city attorney on to kind of start that process and think about, are we going to require 15% of new project? So 15% of the units created in a new project be affordable, and at what level? So that is usually the inclusionary. So that is underway, and we do per the element, we do have till 2026. So that will be kind of this year and into next year, working on that and kind of figuring out exactly what makes sense for us.
Okay, thank you. And program 2.2, I kind of tried to look at that and went into part of SMC. I don't quite understand how that's all going to work either.
Which program again?
2.2, just right below there on page 31. Managing new affordable housing, that kind of thing.
So I know this got started and the town was looking for a partner and working with, but that did kind of with the last town manager stopping and then Darcy coming on did fall off. So we are kind of reworking on that. So it was started and coordinating with San Mateo County, and then we're working on kind of reestablishing it and getting it working again. But that is all I am aware
Okay,
of.
so it is sort of vague. Okay, and then the last thing that I thought actually was kind of important, on page 36, program 7.7, it seems to indicate that we actually have pre-approved preliminary ADU plans. And as far as I know, we don't, but I may not know. And I did go into that link, and I typed in Portola Valley and said, they didn't have any.
Yeah, so we have prepared the process for interested parties to submit pre-prepared plans to us. We have not had anybody exercise that yet. And the town, again, has not had the, ability to reach out and actually create them ourselves because of the cost for that. So we are, that is kind of it is on hold, but it's also if a developer or a architect wants to prepare ADU plans, standard plans, they would get submitted to us. We'll review it, ensure that they are consistent with our standards, and then they would go up on our website as available. And that's kind of that process.
Okay, okay. Isn't anybody else with similar building code that
So I know the county did, I think, if I remember correctly, the county did do something with one of their consultants, but it's a opt-in process that I believe you do have to contribute towards. And we
Oh.
had not taken that action.
okay, thank you. Very helpful.
If you don't mind, I might just add that some of these elements we are aware of and tracking and forward to implementing them, hopefully starting in this year and beyond. So we are working with HIP Housing and looking to work with HART as well, with consultants that will assist us with implementing some of these housing element kind of strategies as well.
Doug, do you have any comments?
I have a couple of questions, yes. First question is when when the APR is submitted to the state, do we get comments back from the state or from APAG?
Yeah, so oftentimes we do get it back from the state. And they just provide guidance like, hey, we want additional documentation, or we want you to clarify this program for us, like how are you meeting it? That is standard. Generally, once we submit it, I mean, everybody submits at the same time. The entire state's going to submit April 1st. So we do expect that there might be a couple months before we hear comments back. And then staff will work to revise and provide the additional information.
Was there anything from last year's report that we should know about? Or does that get reported back to the Planning Commission?
I'm not aware of anything passed to me from the previous director when they worked on it. So I'm not aware of anything. But it is possible that we did.
I guess following up on the discussion with the progress towards our 253, is there a schedule that we started with in 2003 or 23 and 24, and now we update like a budget to actual that then we update so that we see how that we've done versus, what we originally planned?
I think we had a general idea, but I don't know if we actually had a projection schedule. And let me double check one place. Give me a moment.
Yeah.
No, I think, we made some assumptions based off of just what we were seeing on ADUs, hopefully. And that's why we built some of the programs encouraging ADUs, is because we're hoping that that would absorb some of the new capacity that we have to account for. But I'm not aware of a actual schedule that we had.
Okay. Seems at some point you may have to put in new programs or do something to adjust if things are going better or worse than anticipated. I guess that's.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I think it's built into some of the programs that there's reviews on progress and reaction. Is that right?
Yes, and you'll see in some of the programs it says, continuous or review or review and possibly revise by 2026 or 2027. So the programs that we're anticipating, hey, we might need to strengthen it or we might need to revise it, it's in our report on when we should look at it and revise and rethink it if possible, if needed.
Okay. And then another general question, it's mentioned that approvals were slow because of the lack of staffing for the last year for 11 months. Are we now at, full staffing and kind of pushing ahead, or where are we of, I guess, damage done for people for not having staff, and where are we today?
I'll chime with that. I think it depends on what you view as full staff as well, because I think there's mixed feedback about that. As of now, I'm still the only full-time planner hired by the town. And we've actually just hired a senior planner that will start in April. But looking forward, we depend a lot on our contract and consultant teams as well. I mean, they support us greatly and help with a lot of this work, but as we know, that also comes with a cost. So we're balancing kind of the time and money it takes to accomplish these things. And so, I mean, there could be opportunities. I don't know if this has been the case before, but you could have the money, but not the time. But I think right now it's a combination of both, of really looking at being very precise on the things that we do with the little staff and time we have and the budget we can allocate for it as well.
I don't know if you can answer this, but do you feel like the town is a bottleneck to producing more housing? Or is it just, demand coming in from outside?
I mean, we have, I think over the past year, and especially now with Sarah, we are doing a lot of process improvements. One of them, for example, we're getting a new permitting software, so it makes it easier for us to track. Because that is one of the things in preparing this that was difficult is, for example, planning staff didn't have access to the permitting system. So we have to track all our permits manually. And so trying to prepare the reporting and stuff like that is difficult. And, with all the turnover we've had over the past couple years, there was an impact. But I think now, under Sarah's leadership and kind of, I think overall the leadership is now let's get moving. And that's what we're doing. Permits are coming out pretty fast now, from what I've been told. So we're striving to continue that level of service, and make sure we're meeting our deadlines, but also we want to help. We want to encourage development, reasonable development within the town for residents. If they want to build an ADU, helping that process along.
Okay. I guess then I just had one other kind of detailed questions on the page that has the overview of the detailed table, so the very first page.
Mhm.
And I was just trying to understand where, for instance, some just discrepancies in building permits issued by affordable summary totals 11. And then you go down to the next summary tables, units by structure type, and it says 10.
Yeah, so I am aware of that one issue. It's in table A2. For some reason, the cell is not counting the units.
Oh, okay.
So we are going to work to fix that. I have to basically delete that entire row, create a new row and add it back in. I don't know why it's not counting it. I can't easily edit it because the state locks down a bunch of the columns because it's the state's form. So I can't touch certain columns. And that is one of them. So I am aware of that discrepancy and I am working to fix it for that.
Okay, that was it. Thank you.
I only have one comment. I was curious about the Willows Commons, but I think Ronnie straightened me out on that, as did you. But I really appreciate the approach that Karen took to kind of compare us to what's going on statewide. I wonder if we could maybe systematically look at that at least twice a year. I mean, it's true, we have our goals and we're doing what we can to meet them. But on the other hand, so does every other jurisdiction around here. And as many of you know, this housing law has led to quite a few defections in various municipalities around the Bay Area recently. And I know of 4 right off the top of my head in the last month. So I think it'd be a valuable tool to have a little bit of a comparison, and I don't know, maybe Karen can tell you how she found that data, but I think it'd be very useful to have, especially if we have more issues with HCD, give us some leverage. So, hearing nothing further from the commissioners on that, I will open this topic to public comment. I see one hand raised. That's Karen Askey. Karen, we'll call on you, and you have 3 minutes. If there's anybody else who wishes to speak, please raise your hand on this computer thing so we can get you in line. Thank you.
Sorry. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. A couple questions. This is really interesting information. Thank you, Brandon. And I liked all the questions you guys asked. I'm wondering if you have a read on 2026 numbers to date, and confirm that the Stanford, which is I think 39 units, would be in those 2026 numbers. And my other question is, I didn't realize we had an amnesty program, so I went to the site. Sorry about the dog. I went to the site and looked up that we're now it's not our own program, but we're following AB 2533. And Brandon, if you can explain this, like the first bullet point says, the town shall not deny a permit for an ADU or JADU that is in violation of California building standards or does not comply with any local ordinance regulating ADUs or JADUs. And there's more to it than that. But I think I'd love for you to explain a little bit. I think a lot of residents would love to hear about this amnesty program because they've been asking for it and what is entailed. Like if I have an ADU that's unpermitted or an accessory structure that could turn into an ADU, how easy would that be now? Thanks.
Thank you for your comment, Brandon or Sarah. I remember that we made a big deal about the amnesty program over a year ago, and I don't know, again, because who knows who staff was here at the time. I don't know if that yielded anything.
You know, it's one of those things, our housing element 2023, it was before the state law went in place. So the state that's why HCD asked us to put it in, and then the state said, nope, you're doing it anyways. So that is how we kind of implemented it through that point. There are some limitations on how we can and cannot approve it, particularly if the ADU or JADU was constructed prior to 2020. After 2020, you have to be all current, regular standards. But before 2020, there is some options we try to identify the major health and safety issues. But if there's some more minor issues that they're in violation of, we can't require them to meet it. So we are only looking for the basic minimum fire life safety issues for them to correct as part of that amnesty program. And you're more than for the public, you're more than welcome to submit or meet with a planner to discuss. We work closely with our building team as well and could bring them in to kind of discuss, okay, what corrections may need to be made for fire life safety, but also which ones are not. I believe as part of this report, and I believe in the programs table, there has been one unit. It was actually a JEDU that was legalized so far, only one. I do know a lot of other people have submitted ADUs converting, their old pool houses or, old guest houses that may or may not have been permitted as an ADU at the time, but those don't necessarily count because they did not submit to the amnesty program.
Got it. See no further comments on this topic. I think we will move to item 5B, information on the status of Portola Terrace housing project. I see we brought a few people into the room, but this is yours, correct, Jamie? Okay, thank you. Turn the floor over to Jamie Bourne.
All right, so I'm going to start. So I'm Sarah Corse, the Planning and Building Director for the town of Portola Valley. Just wanted to kick off this informational item because we've been working with Stanford for a while, and we thought it'd be great to bring them in and have us come together and come to Planning Commission and provide a more general update of kind of the status of the project as it's in the post-entitlement phase right now. And we also want to provide a very general overview of what the timeline is because we're, again, at a very exciting point and we're going to see some activity on the site later in 2026. So just want to make sure we're on the same page of where we're headed and be able to ask some questions as well. So I'll be kicking it off to Jamie Bourne, who is our wonderful consultant planner, and she'll give a brief overview of where we're at in the process.
Thank you, Sarah. Good evening, council members. Jamie Bourne again, contract associate planner. I am here this evening to present the Portola Terrace
Make sure you speak into the microphone.
the status of the Portola Terrace project. The project was approved by the town council on December 5th of 2024, and the project entitlements established the Portola Terrace planned unit development. The approvals included the conditional use permit, the vesting tentative map, the architectural review, the site development permit, the estate density bonus, affordable housing plan and agreement, and certification of the final EIR. The approvals are documented in resolutions 2955 and 2956, 2024, which include the project's conditions of approval and also the mitigation measures. The project site encompasses approximately 75.2 acres with roughly 64 acres that are preserved as permanent open space. The project includes 30 residential lots with a total of 89 residential units, consisting of 12 below market rate units within 3 buildings. Okay, this graphic looks similar, but it has a different date on it. The project is now in the building permit phase, which implements the previously approved entitlements. On December 30th, 2025, the town received permit applications for demolition, including tree removals for stumps, grading permits, building permits for residential structures and associated site improvements, and for the final map. On January 29th, 2026, the applicant submitted 2 additional applications for an encroachment permit and a site development permit related to the fire access road and trails. Multiple permits are processed concurrently, and construction will occur in phases. All of the permit applications are being reviewed to confirm consistency with the approval, with the approved project entitlements, the conditions of approval, and the environmental mitigation measures. Town staff and consultants are currently evaluating each permit for compliance with the approved project. As I mentioned, on December 30th, 2025, the town received applications for the demolition and tree removal permit, rough grading, site development permit within the residential development area, model plan building permits, a site development permit for street utilities, and related improvements within the development area, and the final map. Initial comments have been issued for all of these applications. A second submittal has been received for the demolition and the tree removal permit, and staff review of that resubmittal is, well, actually, comments have been provided on that one, and that is pending a resubmittal for the tree removal permit. As I mentioned, just initial. Just one moment. Let me see it in my notes. Okay, well, that's okay. So we'll get to the next slide, which is very similar, but provides the information that I want to say now. A second submittal Oh, I did already say, I'm sorry. A second submittal for that demolition permit has been received and reviewed. Once the remaining comments are addressed, which are currently with the applicant, approval is anticipated. This permit includes the tree removals approved during the entitlement phase. Sorry if that sounds redundant. Following demolition permit approval, the applicant will install the construction fencing, the staging areas, and tree protection measures in accordance with the town approved plans. On January 29th, 2026, as I mentioned, the applicant submitted applications for an encroachment permit and a grading permit for the fire access road and trails proposal. The plans and information are currently under the first round of review. Comments or approvals will be issued for each department once all reviews are complete. This slide, permit review timeline, illustrates the anticipated sequencing of the development, grading, and construction activities. The process begins with the demolition and tree removals to the stumps, which are reviewed through the demolition permit. Following the demolition, the project will proceed to rough grading within the development area, which prepares the site for infrastructure installation. The final map is being reviewed concurrently and will be reviewed concurrently with the building permits for the residential structures and associated site improvements, including the private street, utilities, fire access road, and trails. Prior to the final map approval, the site activity will largely involve the demolition and the rough grading only. Construction of the homes and permanent infrastructure will occur after the final map approval and issuance of the necessary permits. All the permits remain under review. All permits are under review still, and plans are being updated as comments are addressed. This slide here, the anticipated applicant project timeline, has been provided by the applicant, and this is for the preliminary construction timeline of the current permit submittals. The first activity residents in town may notice will include installation of construction fencing, staging areas, and tree protection measures. That will be followed by site demolition and tree removal to the stumps. This work is anticipated to begin within approximately 1 to 2 months, depending on the permit approvals. If resubmittals are received and approved on schedule, rough grading could potentially begin in late spring to early summer of 2026. Concurrently, the applicant will continue working to provide the materials required for the final map and in recordation. Once the final map is approved and recorded, permits for the vertical construction, landscaping, utilities, and associated site improvements, including the trail network, may proceed once the appropriate permits have been issued. When work occurs within the public right-of-way, the applicant team will be coordinating with town staff to ensure residents are informed. Project information is available on a dedicated webpage on the town's website, which includes the resolutions, frequently asked questions, and contact information. The town will continue to update the project information as the permits are processed, so that there'll be some timeline information as well. Stamford also maintains a project webpage, and there's additional information here on this slide for contact details for Stamford. Following this presentation, the Planning and Building Director, Sarah, thank you for introducing me, and I are available to answer questions, and we have several members who graciously joined us for this meeting who are also available to answer questions if needed. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jamie and Sarah. I have some questions, but I'll start with Doug and go the other way this time. If you have any questions or comments?
I only have a couple questions. One is, what is the breakdown, and I think it's been somewhere in the literature, but the rental versus ownership of these, how does that work?
The rental, there are 12 rental units that are all below market rate units, and 27 for sale units for Stanford faculty, totaling 39.
And the 12 units, are they targeted for Stanford-related people as well?
I
or
think
not?
this could also be great for if Stanford wants to help answer some of the questions related to the project as well, but so we have them.
Can we get a red light? Okay. Okay, thank you. My name is John Donahoe with Stanford University. In answer to the question, yes, 37 units will be sold to Stanford faculty. And the 12 units are BMR units. As part of our approval, there was a BMR agreement between Stanford as the developer and the town of Portola Valley. And then as we get closer to occupancy, we'll continue to work with staff to establish the actual criteria of who in the community would be eligible to rent those units.
How does it work in terms of when a Stanford faculty would like to then sell it? I assume it stays in the Stanford pool. Or is
That's
it
our
not?
intent. We have again, Stanford cannot sell the property. So the people that they will buy the home, but Stanford, they will actually have a ground lease on the property itself. So as a condition of that ground lease, Stanford actually has first right of refusal when one of the faculty members wants to sell their property. The hope is, kind of as you phrased it, we would like to keep it going. We'd like to keep faculty in there for as often as possible.
Okay, great. That's all I have.
Thank you. Karen, do you have questions?
No, I don't.
Thank you. You can
I
stay
won't
there
go, I won't
until
go
you come.
far. Yeah.
No question.
Okay. Mr. Targ, you have questions or comments?
I have no questions. I have no comments.
Boy.
Um,
Ronnie, go for it.
Hopefully this is in scope. I think when the project was approved, there was the guarantee of some funds for transportation study. Is there any plan for that?
So I think I'm vaguely aware of the reference you have, and that's something that I can follow up with and get more information on it. I know I've heard our town managers about something related to what you just asked.
Yeah, it is a condition of approval. It's for $100,000. And I believe it is, Stanford will make that payment to the town with issuance of the first building permit. And you can correct me on the timing, but I may be wrong on the timing, but that's how I remember it. So the idea is we essentially provide the money to the town. The town can scope the study as they see fit and make any determination for use of those funds. But it is primarily intended for Alpine Road. Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
No, that's it. Thanks.
There was a comment in our initial public comment. I was out of town, but I understand that a fence went up before a fence permit was provided. Was there an order to remove the fence? Were there penalties per the public comment? Were there financial penalties for proceeding without a permit? And do we have a policy on that? How does that happen? What happened with that, and will it happen again?
I'll chime in a little bit with that. So yes, there was a temporary construction fence that was previously installed that quite hadn't been permitted yet. So through our typical sort of code enforcement process and inspections that we do when, construction projects are heading into construction or under construction, we did have someone go out and, verify that that was something that's not allowed. And so that's where we did issue sort of a letter or order to take the fence down. So it was removed promptly by Stanford, which we appreciated. And, any future fence will go up when it's permitted.
Thank you. Jamie, this is sort of a generic question because we haven't had a project of this size since I've been on this commission. You laid out your little arrows of schedule. Do we have any statutory timeframes for your reviews? You do this as best you can, or are there time limits imposed on you once you receive this massive pile of documents?
I'd need to reference what the application was applied under. However, the typical review protocol of 30-day reviews is what we've been trying to work toward. However, we've been working with Stanford who on specific reviews has been inclusion with me because there's one that is just a bit late here. Because there are a lot of permits, but we are prioritizing the tree removal right now and the demolition. And so we've been working together to
Right,
ensure. that-
okay, good. Well, I know they appreciate that we had no staff last year, so I appreciate all that you're doing. I did have a specific question. The bar graph, you had tree removal in March and April. I know one of the mitigation measures in the EIR had to do with birds and time of year when you can remove trees. So I don't know how you can do all of that in March and April. And what are you going to do with the trees that you can't remove? Or have you done your nesting surveys? I assume you have. And then, okay, so that's my question about the trees. I mean, I know, for example, that hummingbirds have already started to nest, or probably through by now.
Would Stanford like to answer how the mitigation measures are being applied at this point, or would you like me to provide some more information? I can say that the town staff will be verifying based on what when the approval is achieved, then there's specific timelines that we have depending on the month.
Okay.
And I'll let
Sure.
Chris provide some more information.
Thank you. Jamie. My name is Chris Wuthman. I'm also with Stanford Real Estate, and I'm responsible for project design and construction of housing. And so I team with John on this project. Yes, the reason why we are hoping to start the tree removal in March is because as nature moves toward spring, more birds are coming and starting their nests. We have a number of biological mitigations that we're required to comply with from the EIR. And it's not just with respect to nesting birds, it's also with respect to red-legged frogs and western pond turtles and dusky-footed wood rats and pallid bats. And there are different timeframes within which these have to be or are supposed to be completed. In other words, the red-legged frogs and the western pond turtles need to be surveyed no more than 24 hours before construction activity, whereas nesting birds can be surveyed up to 30 days before construction activity. And so we actually have started some surveying of birds in hopes that we will be able to start tree removal in March. So it's less than 30 days away that we hope to be able to start tree removal. But yes, there will be undoubtedly some nests out there that we have to observe a 100-foot remove from with our construction activity. And we have engaged H.T. Harvey, who performed the environmental, biological biotic analysis for the EIR. We've engaged them to do the survey work and help us implement and comply with the EIR's mitigation requirements with respect to this. I could say more, but
I have a follow-up question. I'm a bird watcher, so it's an area of great interest to me.
yes.
But so I knew about the 100-foot area, but in the 100-foot area, for example, say you've acorn woodpecker or something, then you have to leave the trees in the 100-foot area and just leave that area untouched
Yes.
until the mating is through, until the nest is through.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So we
very likely won't just move like an army through the trees, but we will have to move around them and through them very judiciously, observing various no disturb areas, so to speak, under the guidance of H.T. Harvey.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from the commissioners before I ask for public comment? And
Yeah.
thank you all for your assistance very much.
Oh, I just feel like a follow-up on the birds. I'm curious if there's any pre-mitigation measures like silver tape that you could put on ones to discourage them now from showing up.
That's been addressed in the EIR.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah, the
not,
rules are clear.
not a professional that can,
and you don't disturb the birds. You don't send the birds away. Okay, thank you. Anybody online want to raise their hand and ask any questions or make any comments? I see no hands raised. Okay, I'm gonna close this agenda item and move on. I do appreciate you all coming, and I see a few of your friends were online too. So we do appreciate it and appreciate your patience. The next agenda item is commissioner staff and committee reports. I think I will start by asking the planning director if she has a report to make.
Yes, thank you. Well, one, before people take off, I really want to say thank you to Jamie and Brandon, our planners, being here, as well as Stanford for coming and providing that update. I know we're at a very, I feel like pinnacle kind of keystone point of the project where it's this turning point where we're actually going to start to see construction soon. So I think this is, also one of the updates of one of our biggest projects will be breaking ground this year. And so that's pretty exciting. And so it's great to have them here. And I'll just remind everyone that we'll distribute the kind of contact information and make sure that's on our website. We'll have ways for community members to send in questions or comments. And then, we have the direct contact to Stanford as well. So when things really do get going and there are concerns, construction or activities, that they will have, they'll be able to be contacted as well. So we'll look forward to that and make sure that we keep our website update. So other updates we have, so we were just recently at town council where there was sort of a joint vote for one to approve the mid-year budget update as well as to approve a contract for OpenGov. So with the mid-year budget approval, there was additional funding requests to have funding to implement a new permitting and licensing software where we are transitioning from EnerGov to OpenGov. Unfortunately, they do sound very similar, but they are different. So this is a pretty big project for us coming up because it's essentially going to touch every aspect of our work, from how we intake permits, every single workflow and process that we do on our back end, down to inspections, code enforcement, how people pay for their permits and applications, and how they even apply as well. So what we're looking for with OpenGov is to transition into the digital world. And the end result would look like someone would go to our website, they'd be able to submit their application, pay online, coordinate with town staff or reviewers online as well, and then kind of go through the entire process digitally. Whereas we mentioned before, we're intaking through email. There's various different types of communication and coordination that's done. So transitioning to this permitting licensing software would be amazing, will help streamline a lot of that, but it will take a lot of work. The timeline, we're still kind of setting what that timeline looks like. I would hope it's done by 8 months or sooner, ideally, but it will be a pretty big undertaking because one, not only do we have to do that work, we're also clarifying our processes too. So we're going to be double checking everything that we do and every requirement as it relates to kind of the current planning side that we're doing right now. So that'll be a really big project that we have coming up. So I guess the last update that I have is we did hire a senior planner that will start in mid-April. So we're really excited about that. So that was a longer process to recruit and get someone on board, but we're having Akoe Wilson, who's coming from Half Moon Bay, and she'll be starting on April 14th.
Coming from where did you say?
Half Moon Bay.
Right. Thank you. Commissioners, does anybody have a report to make?
I recently remembered to submit my Form 700, which I think is due by the end of the month.
Yeah.
everyone should remember to do that.
And if you were like me, the first 3 times I tried, it didn't work. Their website wasn't working. I finally had to have them reset my password, and it's more trouble than it's worth, but I did it too, just last week. And Christine, what her name is, doesn't work for the town anymore. Did you get that email? She was copied on all the emails. It's a good reminder. We all have to file the conflict of interest rules with the state.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Even when they tell you they won't.
$10 per day somewhere. Yeah.
How much? 200. I talked my way out of it because I'd actually submitted it, but they just couldn't find it. Okay, I don't have anything further to report either. I will continue to work with Sarah to continue to get the things that we're behind on caught up on a little bit. I know there's another set of minutes, at least one more set of minutes from last year, so we'll get that done before she gets too engrossed in all these new projects that she's taking on. But otherwise, I don't have any other comments. The next agenda items are the minutes from our February 4th meeting. I made a general, I have a general comment. I don't think we need to change these minutes, but I think we've gone a little too far on keeping them brief. But since we had no action items last time, and it was just informational, I'm not asking for a change in those minutes, but I think we're gonna slide a little bit over and put a little more information. I don't want to read out of the tape like we were getting previously. I like that they're shorter, but I do think that we can add a little substance. Any other comments on the February 4th minutes? I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion, minutes are approved. That's it. We will adjourn. I don't think I need a motion to adjourn. Right? Am I
Got
missing
the
something?
power.
Thank you.